she is amazing.
She was wonderful to talk to, and I asked her to come to the February to be like a featured reader for the Newberry reading or the TO reading in February, and she's going to bring some other students with her. And
fantastic! Yeah. You have no idea how great that makes me feel. That's brilliant. Because I was trying to get the Oak Park students more involved. We held a couple of readings in the Oak Park Library. Mm-hmm. Which was well attended, and a number of kids came to that. A number of students came. So I'm delighted. Shoshana's brilliant, and Leslie Miller is the name of the teacher who is in oversight of Veritas, the magazine. So she's the club leader. They run it as a club. I don't know who now is the president, which student is the president, but Leslie is the teacher. And she and I worked on Poetry Out Loud together. We did a number of things together. So yeah, she's great. She'll be really supportive.
Yeah, she was great. And Shoshana sent me a couple of her pieces, and I just wrote back. I'm like, this is amazing. I'd be so honored to have you. You know?
But they're all good. You should see. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen any of the. What's the word? Any of the back copies of
No, I'm gonna have to get
Veritas. It's a high quality piece of literature, and they're combinations of short stories and poetry. So the kids are amazing.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, that reminds me of like when I was at Scranton Prep in high school. My junior year, one of the electives was a creative writing class, and it was all short stories and poetry. And there was this guy, Dr. Vanston, who's got me into writing poetry, and he really, he's the reason why I write the way I do. And he was a very interesting guy because he was kind of like an adjunct professor there teaching poetry, but his main job was he was a mortician, and ran a funeral home. And so he had this very like Monty Python, dark, dry, tongue-in-cheek humor that was could be like you wouldn't even know he was being terribly mean to you, or he could say something very nasty to you in a really funny way, or a completely nuanced, clouded way. It was really he definitely impressed upon me the importance of finding the scenic route around any description.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
And I remember him telling me he's like adverbs are the bastard modifiers of the English language, and in like impressing that on me very, very much. Yeah. He's like, if you write something that ends with ly, he's like, I would take that into account when you are proofing it.
I love it. That's really good.
So to fast forward, about 22 years, and I'm part of this poetry group now, and I get my first poem published in the Cinder, the one about the fires.
Right. Fire and Mud.
Fire and Mud, and I get that poem, and it was like such an honor. And I remember sending the poem, contacting Vanston Funeral Home in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and saying, hey, is Dr. Vanston still there? And like this guy comes on the phone and he goes, I think you had my father as your teacher in high school. I said, yeah. And he's like, actually, he passed, not too long ago. And I said, well, and I told what had happened. I said, I'm sorry. I spoke with like the runner of the, someone there, and they said that his son is running it now. And I said, well, can I send something there? And they gave me an address, and I wrote a nice note, and I included the poem and everything. And they wrote me back this very sweet. They had become lovers of poetry themselves because they're their father's children, and they sent back this very, very, very sweet note talking about how much he, referencing specific things in the poem that I had written, and how much he would have appreciated specific lines, and it was like he was talking to me. And they gave critique, or they gave comments in the way he would have, and it was very sweet.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, it was nice to.
Exciting.
He would. Yeah. I think he would be proud of the fact that I've kept with it and that I've come back to it with the same gusto that he impressed upon me. Did I lose you? Oh, our FaceTime call fell short here. Hold on. Let me get that back going. Or maybe his phone died. That is very possible. Let's see. These things happen when you are trying to interface with someone who is 8 time zones away. I bet that's what happened. His phone died. Well, that might have to be where we stop today, and we'll have to pick it up another time. Let's see. And that's all right. Oh, here he is. Did I get you back? Yes.
One of us. I got you through my computer now.
No, that's fine. That's great. I was saying on there, like talking to listeners, I'm like, well, that might be where our interview ends today.
No. My phone did die in the end, so I've.
There we are.
Hang on.
Well, you sound just as good, so this is all.
Oh,
good.
That's better.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Got me? Okay.
Yes,
and
you sound great.
I've got you perfectly. Good.
Good.
So, yeah, sorry, my phone died. So here we are. Well, that's interesting. That's a fascinating story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was never writing when I was at school. I didn't start until I got to college.
Well, my wife encouraged me to start writing again a lot. I mean, I've been married 15 years, and I mentioned here and there, I'd be like, oh, I used to write poetry. And she's like, oh, you should start again. I bet it's great.
Right.
And I had this book, just like a steno, like a classic, college rule, notebook that had all my poems in it. And it got lost along the way. And when that got lost, because I never, you mentioned throwing away a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
I never threw away anything, and I saved everything. And when I lost that, kind of like my whole ability to write went with it for years.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I threw a lot away, and then I lost a lot. So some of it I had a hard disk crash or whatever it was. I lost stuff without a backup. So it wasn't just that I threw stuff away. I lost an awful lot. And then when I first got to Ventura and got into the poetry, I realized I'd got quite a bit of stuff that I'd written down. So I immediately set about getting it back into the computer again. So I've now got it saved and backed up and whatever.
I have a poem for you if you'd like.
Go on, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been working, this whole year I started working on those pieces of around where I grew up in Pennsylvania, of different scenes, and each poem is a different memory.
I remember you reading those,
yeah.
though. I remember you reading some of those.
And I've got,
they were
that's
great.
Right. I think I started doing that right before you had left.
The snow thing. There was some about snow and the cabin and walking up on the paths and walking through the woods.
Great memory. Yes, absolutely. So
I remember everything.
All of these are around this country inn that I grew up on called the Sterling Inn. And so I actually talked to my mom because my mom enjoys painting, but she hasn't done much in the last couple of years. And I'm trying to... they asked me to be the featured reader in March. And I'm trying to build up all of these. I was going to do basically the whole theme of it being the Sterling Inn. And there's this story my mom always tells of me...
A good book.
Yeah, it would be a good book, and I've been thinking about that. I'm asking my mom if she maybe has some paintings of the inn that she might want to submit with it to kind of illustrate along with it. Even
better, yeah.
And I even have the title for it. It's because when we moved from the Philadelphia area up there, I'm the youngest of 7, and I was 2 years old, and in the back of the station wagon. And when we come around the corner, arriving there for the first time, my mom says, I said, "We are home now, the Sterling Inn." And so that the name of the book would be "We Are Home Now."
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And so,
perfect.
So this one's called...
Go on, what you got?
This one's called Small Pond.
Okay.
If you leave the terrace room and walk downhill toward the creek, you'll pass it on your right. The small pond. Like a gazebo made of water, it sits solely for the view. Reeds with no beach, benches with worn seats. Everything around it seems important, like the banal piece of clothing that ties together a mature woman's choices of flair. In winter, it freezes first, but no one thinks to skate on it. We'd rather wait for the big pond, and wait for the plow, and for stuffing my sweatsuit full of pillows to block hockey pucks. In spring, it's adjacent to old-school recreational fun, a grass putting course and shuffleboard courts, and simple seats under thoughtful oaks, each having their own set of lies to tell about one another. And that one spring, my mischief taught me a lesson. Outdoors cast-iron pan on nature's gas range. I'd find a skipping stone while mowing the lawn between the small pond and the inn. I fired it sidearm toward the pond and toward the ducks. An exact accident, and the mallard twisted and folded. Others scattered, but they came back so quickly to check and to mourn. They knew their friend had died immediately. A guest saw me do this and went to scold me. But I never heard a word. They could see the torment running through me like curdling cream.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
nice.
I mowed a lot of grass growing up, and I loved to skip stones, and I remember that moment. And I just... It's that moment of like 12-year-old... nobody's going to get really pissed at me, and let me just try on what it feels like to be really mean, you know?
Yeah.
And it went all perfectly as the not meant to imagining, right?
Yeah, right.
You know? It's like, maybe I could kill this. Oh, God, I did, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. Oh, yeah, sure. Wow. Yeah, no. It's good to get that sort of stuff out, isn't it?
Yes,
I had a feeling like that. About homeless people in Ventura. Again, you may have heard. So I've done a poem about that. Which, you have heard, because Mark used it as a jumping off point to write another one.
Yes, he did. Yeah. He and I suffer the same problem. A lot of times we get inspired during the group, and we sit there writing furiously in between sessions. You know.
Well, you must do. You have to. When it hits you, you got to do it, don't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you know that I'm just a few minutes shy of when I need to stop here. My battery's going to die, and
okay. What else is there anything else you want to do?
No, but I
ask me.
But you're definitely talking with you. I think we have a lot more to talk about. I think it might be nice to do this every once in a while.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
There's a lot more we could talk about. I think that's right.
Yeah, this is great. I love sharing poetry with you, and
me too.
And I very much appreciate you being that smiling face that I walked into a room and made me feel warm enough and encouraged my gregarious nature to get up and start. And that led.
Thank you.
And the whole vibe of the scene that you had put together has changed, has made me feel roots in where I live much quicker than it would have been otherwise. So.
Well, I'm pleased for that, and thank you for saying that. I mean, I just enjoyed doing it. It was just so much fun.
Yeah.
It was just so much fun to get it started, and the fact that there were so many like-minded people who wanted to come, people like Bonnie, Tracy, I think of a lot. Obviously Terry. God, I miss Terry so much. Ron, obviously fantastic, and these were people who were there pretty much from the start. And that was fantastic. So it had a really nice feel, and these people were really lovely people. So we were fortunate. I mean, I guess it was the right thing at the right time is what it was. And that's something you can't buy, predict,